Thank you. So everyone is here, and my name is. I don't. Basically, you know my name. I have to present myself,
Say my
otherwise.
name. Say my name.
Okay, here we go. Here we go. Let's say this is how it goes in here. We are the Brady Bunch. My name is Daniel Ghanimé, based in Beirut, Lebanon. I am okay. I'm gonna take more than 20 seconds because I am privileged since I am the one presenting. So I like status. You know, you should read that book. It's called The Status Game. It's an amazing book. Um, so basically, I'm based in Beirut, Lebanon. I'm originally I'm a telecom engineer, and then I moved on to morphopsychology. From morphopsychology, I studied hypnotherapy. Started with HTI. That's John Butler, and then moved on to Jerry Kine and Omni. Basically, I'm an Omni grad here. If you don't know Jerry, you will get to know Jerry as we speak. And part of the Ellman family as a Dave Ellman Hypnosis Institute trainer. And as I say always I always say it always to Cheryl and Larry that I'm the adopted one. So I'm almost part of the family in a kind of way. Mentored and followed up and by giants like um, Joanne and Robert, Beryl Kumar, Wendy Weber. It's just I'm all over the place. I know. So basically, I'm not your average therapist. As we what I do and what I'm specialized in is regression to cause, as many would say, but it's not always like that, as I call it art. And art stands for abreactive regressive therapy. So basically, I'm not your average therapist. I am, as Steve Parker used to say, I am, what do you call it? Exorcist. Exorcist, really. Because, you know, this is how it happens. When you face your demons on your own, you need an exorcist to get it out. So basically, this is what I do. It wasn't me who called me exorcist. It was a friend of mine. Once upon a time, we were in the clinic, and he was sharing the other room, and we were supposed to meet afterwards. And after one session, I left. When I just stepped out of the room, I searched for Caesar, and he wasn't there. I called him, and he said, "What the hell were you doing inside?" Said nothing. It's the normal session. She said, and he said, "It's like I thought your client is going to die." Said like basically she's alive now. She was dead. So he called me, you're an exorcist. So yeah, I do go by that name, as many would say, because two things are very important to understand that hypnosis doesn't like. It's fear, fear of what you might discover in hypnosis, and fear of the hypnotic process by itself. So some people they will be shy, some people they will be worried, some people they'll be scared by everything they will tell them, and then everything what they see on the TV or the movies. So basically those things that you know, the cliche stuff. Can you know more about Anna? Hey Anna, can you just unmute and present yourself, please, to the rest of us, as we are just about to embark on this amazing journey of hypnotism. Basically, all of us here, we are either trained, non-practicing, we want to practice, trained, practicing for a very long time. So there are two, maybe three things that you would be expecting out of what we will talk about. You can tell me that, and I can say it, and you just correct me if I'm wrong. Some of you, they're not confident enough to start and kick off their practice, or they think they need more. Some of you curious to learn things that they thought they didn't know, or eager to learn more. And others, they just here to support me, like Robert and Joanne. They don't need me. They know more than I do. So basically, this is the thing. I love every single one of you, and hopefully you will enjoy this. Please feel free to unmute, interrupt me any time. Please do that. I like interruptions. I'm like the interruption fairy godmother. I don't look like godmother anyway. So we will kick off with stuff, and we will be covering things about hypnosis, hypnotherapy. What is the difference between hypnosis and hypnotherapy? I'm not going to dive into history because most of you will be bored from history, but I need to say I have to kick off somewhere and give credit to our ancestors, that they came from very, very long time ago. And I will ask the amazing question of who among you know what is the oldest profession in the history of the world? Anyone? Don't. The oldest profession in the history of the world? No one?
Prostitution.
Yes! Who said that?
Me.
Yeah. Yes!
I'm prostitution. Not proud, huh?
Yeah, I know. This is everybody will say that prostitution is the oldest profession in the history of humankind. But no, unfortunately not. Hypnotherapy is.
Thank God.
Yeah, hypnotherapy is, and our main proof is there lying in front of us in the book of Genesis 1. You know, so basically, if you read the book of Genesis, you talk about when God created Adam, and then he created Eve. In order to create Eve, he put Adam in deep sleep, and he then plucked the rib. So basically, he performed the operation under hypnosis, or in hypnosis, I would say. I should slap myself in the face. So it was the first operation in hypnosis that God performed on Adam to create Eve. So yeah, we are the oldest profession in the world, practiced by God himself. This is how our ego is raised. Joanne.
Hallelujah.
When God caused the deep sleep to come over Adam, and it doesn't say that he ever woke man up.
Okay.
That's a good one.
So basically, he had to learn to immerse himself. So this is how hypnotherapy was created, because it was attending to a problem on its own. You have to either copyright that. I will be using this a lot of times. So yeah, hypnotherapy, the oldest profession in the human history. That there's a big debate between who started using the suggestibility and sleep first. But basically, since Greeks, they used to copy the pharaohs in old Egypt. So basically, the pharaohs were the first to create the sleep temples, and the Greeks, they copied that and they created it. So we're not going to go debating, pharaohs over Greek and Egyptians and Macedonians or Greek did that. One thing, it has been there for very, very, very long time, that even Hippocrates used it, and he made the connection of the mind-body relationship that nowadays we're coming back to it, after all, thanks God, because it took very long time after the whole world turned into pharmacology and they just dissociated the mind and body. One thing for sure, that this kind of practice kept on going and going and going from, everybody will talk about Mesmer and Braid and whoever coined the name hypnosis, and you just like go to in the books. There's one person that is very well underrated in the history of hypnosis. It's not underrated, actually. He's overlooked because Braid stole his thunder, and that's Etienne de Cuvier. Etienne de Cuvier, he was the one who coined the prefix hypn. Okay, so hypnagogia, hypnoanalysis, whatever, well, I used to call it hypno. It was in French, that's why he didn't have the suffix cis, like hypnosis or something. But he was behind the whole aspect of the prefix hypn, that later on Braid used it as hypnosis. But basically, de Cuvier, he was the one that was behind the prefix hypn, and he created a whole vocab out of it. And if you are interested, there's a book that dates since the 1800s or 1700s, something like that. It's called Le Magnétisme éclairé, because de Cuvier was mostly a mesmerist, and there he did he differed between the mesmerism, magnetism that nowadays has shifted somehow to what we call energy healing and all this kind of gazing and that branch, and the Cuvier's branch that is related to what we call hypnotherapy nowadays, that has morphed into clinical hypnotherapy and these kind of things that advanced through the years, that even Jean-Martin Charcot was using it in La Salpêtrière in Nancy, where Freud went there to learn it. And basically, we owe plenty of things to that. And even Breuer was using it to do regression and to induce these kind of abreactions to work with hysteria patients. Yeah, Robert.
And it was Daniel Ghanimé who coined hypnohumus.
Humusology and humosis or humusnosis. This is why I called it hummus. The story behind hummus was like every single person comes on and just give his or her own definition of hypnosis, while the main definition of hypnosis was coined by de Cuvier. So the guy created something, and that was it. Do you want to use it else in a deferred way? Call it hummus. I don't care. So it's a state and it's a process at the same time. The long-lasting, eternal debate between, is hypnosis a state? Is it a process? Now we know it's both. It's like it's a process, it's a state, and I will show you how it is a process and a state. So I'm not going to dive a lot in history. I'm not going to bore you to death with history, even though I'm a history buff. I'm not going to just dive into that. So the nature of hypnosis, if we kind of put it this way, in order to induce any hypnosis or any hypnotic, hypnoidal, or we call it a shallow state of hypnosis, all you need to do is just engage 3 sensations at the same time. You don't believe me? Go ahead and do it. Since your conscious mind is capable of doing one thing and one thing at a time, the moment you just jump sequentially from one sensation to the other, you will find yourself detached from whatever you're in, and you will just immediately relax without even intending to. So if you want to try it now, all you need to do is just, you can close your eyes or you keep them open, doesn't matter. If you kept your eyes open, focus on one thing and one thing only, so using your eyesight as a sensation, and at the same time feel the chair underneath you, the bed or whatever. At the same time, pay attention to all the voices around you, including the sound of your breathing. Not attending to your breathing, just the sound of your breathing, and it just like scratches the surface of the inner of your own nose. That's weird. So basically, engage 3 sensations at the same time, and believe me, you will be in a shallow state of what we call it, hypnoidal state. Okay, so it's easy to trigger that. You can trigger it on demand if you want, and sometimes we're triggering it without noticing it. And the proof that your subconscious mind is more capable of your conscious mind is only capable of doing one thing and one thing at a time. When you thought you are multitasking, you just discover that you just jump from one sensation to the other, just sequentially. Until I say at that moment in time, you can smell the room around you, then your reaction goes around to your smelling sensation, and just you can add it up to your other three sensations, and you find yourself even deeper and deeper. So it's about mental expectancy, suggestibility, engagement of sensations, whatever you want to say it, call it whatever you want to call it. Every single one has a different definition for it. My go-to definition, I would rather use the Elmanian kind of definition. It sounds good. It has worked with medical doctors and dentists, and it kind of just depicts the situation. As I will just draw it in a moment. I like drawing. You will like that. It's the bypass of the critical faculty and the establishment of an acceptable selective thinking. That's okay. That's a definition. What does that mean? I will jump to that in a bit. So if you have any questions about this or anything you want to clarify, or you just something, maybe your own point of view, you just please go ahead. Open your mic and slap me in the face. So it's so that's okay. No slapping. Thank you. We have plenty of misperceptions and misinformations and just disbeliefs about that the hypnotist can, you know that already. I can just make you do whatever you need to do or something like that. Plenty of things, but one of the worst things ever you can imagine about these kind of misperceptions and misconceptions are myth about the speed of hypnotherapy, that it doesn't work because it didn't take too much time. And this is really irritating. For me, it's really irritating. Some people, they just weigh the therapy on the basis of how long it will take, because it's a very complicated matter that you're going through, and it shouldn't be finished just like that. So some people, they really need to have these kind of things that to go through it. So you will be faced with something. I call them, I follow Gil Boyne's listing about the myth. I'll come back to you guys just in a second. So myth number one is everyone needs and can benefit greatly from therapy or psychotherapy. We're not talking about hypnotherapy. So I would rather say that hypnotherapy, psychotherapy, mental health therapy, whatever, everyone will benefit greatly. But if you go through the history of mankind, almost all the world's population have not only survived without it, but most have lived satisfying and productive lives, right? So basically, this kind of things, there's plenty of myths around the mental health, and I call it the medicalization of mental health. Ghada.
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm on what you're saying about how people perceive that hypnotherapy when it works so fast. I had a client, he had panic attacks, and he's been having them for like 8 years or more than 8 years. And he was very convinced that he cannot heal except through pills and medications. And he was advised to come to me through his sister. So we talked, and he started to get convinced that, okay, we're going to work on that and stuff. So we started the first session and we did hypnosis, and we worked on his case, and he got very much better. Okay, that he confessed the week after that he was very much better, to the extent that he was surprised and he rejected that. And he was afraid that people around him will say that he was a liar. How come you recovered in only one session after being in that state for over 8 years? So he stopped the sessions.
Yeah, I've seen
cursed.
that happening.
He cursed himself. He said, "No, this is not what I want. I want pills. I want medication."
Yeah, but I
And
will
he
tell you,
felt this.
Ghada, sometimes even they're supporting doctors and mental health professionals that they will disrupt the process of healing for the simple reason they will come to that person and will say like, there's no freaking way in heaven or earth that you will be healed just in like 1 hour. Now you're gonna convince me that you're gonna heal. For sure, it's gonna return to you. And that person, he's on the edge of falling, and all he needed just a simple nudge to go back and what he was going through. So this is something very important. Whatever the mind expects tends to be realized. Gerald Klein. Okay, so one of the major rules of the mind, that's whatever the mind expects tends to be realized. It's amazing for a simple reason. If he had expected himself that he had healed and he will be healed, or I don't like the word healing rather than just like recovering or whatever it is, it would have been working. But basically there was another part of him that was doubtful. So I would go, see, this is how these trainings go. I would go in these kind of situations and I work with what we call parts therapy. Most of you know part therapy, or using IFS, parts, ego state, whatever, to that part that is doubtful. Okay, because the healing or the fixing or the recovery happened in one session, there's always a doubtful part over there lurking and waiting for it to flunk. So what we need to do is just to address that part who has been let down for very, very long time, because based on that long-term 8 years experience, there's a doubtful part that this thing could work. So I would have addressed, for me, I would have addressed that doubtful part, made a deal with it, and then kicked off with the whatever I need to do. Okay, so basically, guys, you go there, you enjoy having a one session thingy, it works, yeah, and you are so confident, and all of a sudden that person will just wrecks all your dreams. So it's only about what to put, how to use your toolbox. Parts therapy, regression, direct suggestion, how to put them, how to mix and match. This is what we call it, the hypno kitchen. Okay, everybody likes cooking. You go inside, you have eggs, you have flour, you have, I don't know, just you have plenty of other condiments and stuff, and you can make a pie, you can make a cake, or you can just make a mess. That's me. So basically, I go to the kitchen, I make a mess. Pierre.
Could be also a secondary gain issues, perhaps.
Of course.
What I'm seeing a lot, it's I cannot be healed. It's
Yes,
not, he doesn't want to be healed. He cannot be healed because, and he will continue arguing because my partner will not accept it, and then and he go forward. And secondary gain is I wasn't ever expecting that much of secondary gain patient that comes.
Yeah, it happens, it happens too many times. We call it, if you're having like secondary gains, so it's like, see, we dive from one thing to the other. Secondary gains, you're facing your worst. I call them the yes but clients, and they are the worst. So basically, the yes but clients, they have secondary gains. And what are secondary gains? If you want to put secondary gain in a certain ego state, it's a part. Okay, it's a part that's a doubtful part. That's a part, maybe it's not doubtful, it's a beneficiary from that situation. It's a protective part, let's say, in your case, about their partner doesn't want it to happen. So basically, there's a protective part of that relationship that doesn't know the benefits for the relationship if this thing happened, instead of going and just convincing that partner, or even and this is okay, I'm going drastical, we're going demon mode here. Okay, let's buckle up. Even just getting divorced or just leaving out of this toxic relationship because that person doesn't want that person to be, for who he or she is. They're just taking them as a hostage, gaslighting them to say that you have a problem and you need to deal with it, or you don't have a problem, everything is fine. Because the moment you wake up, Robert and Joanne, that time that God had so much mercy on Adam and he didn't wake him up, the moment that he will wake up or she will wake up, basically they won't be in the same relationship again. So that's something quite huge. So you need to just tiptoe and walk on eggshells in these kind of things. So you can imagine one person coming to you to stop smoking, and all of a sudden they start talking about sexual stuff, and all hell breaks loose. So compensation and stuff like that. But why did you come for smoking? Said, yeah, but my wife wanted me to stop smoking. So like, yeah, okay, go bring your wife. She can stop smoking, and you can work on yourself to be a better husband. So these kind of things, So if we're talking about that, going into parts therapy and going into secondary gains, a secondary gain, that's the fact that is on the ground. This is the cliche word for it. If we go technically, we go into parts, and these parts, they found a certain benefit from that issue. So basically, in order to face secondary gains, your best weapon of choice, if we can say, parts therapy or internal family systems or ego state therapy or whatever. Okay, so these kind of things, because there is an inner part that doesn't want this to happen for a simple reason. It's just like anger, for example, anger that stemmed from childhood. It goes from that child that was treated unfairly and decided that he or she will voice it so strong that everybody will be scared of me, to protect himself or herself. At that moment in time, the moment they want to get rid of that toxic anger, there's a secondary gain saying, okay, and how will I protect myself? So these kind of secondary gains and parts, that vulnerable part that will sit there, said like, okay, if I got my fairness out of this, and I understand it's up to me to get the fairness rather than somebody will offer it to me, but if I stop that anger, they're gonna belittle me, and then I will be bullied again, and then they will go back to it. So it's like that guy who sat on the bar and he asked the barman to have a drink, and the first, second, third, after his 15th drink, the bartender asked him, said like, sir, why do you drink? Said like, I want to forget. So what do you want to forget? I said like, that I drink. So basically they go into that kind of loop. They drink to forget that they drink, and then they go into that secondary gain loop. That's good. Thank you. So basically, hypnotherapy, everybody has a list of whatever we do in hypnotherapy, from psychosomatics to kind of surface issues, phobias, and whatever. All these kind of things we list on our websites, or we study in the beginning. We can do this, we can do that, we can, and then we face at that moment in time those kind of legal matters, and then we're gonna go inside the legality of whether you can use the term therapist or not, or you can use counselor or consultant or not. So basically, it's up to you to dig in the legalities and the laws of your own countries and states, even, sorry, to know what kind of name you should call yourself. Or you can call yourself homosologist and no one will care. Okay, so basically you can put that on your door. Let's put it this way: Margarita McDonald's specialized in homosology. So basically no one would do that. So if she said homotherapist, then she's in the big mess, because that's what I said to someone, that you cannot use the word therapy in your practice, because therapy is is a term that is, let's say, exclusive to our profession, and said, okay, you have to go and sue Unilever over Palmolive by putting aromatherapy on their shampoo bottles. So I don't know, you know, these kind of things. It's, you know, when it comes to legal stuff and laws, better to work your, you know, in a good frame. Otherwise, you won't find yourself in a big mess. One of the things that you will be facing, because people, they will call you doctor at any moment in time, even if you have a real doctor, medical doctorate, or you don't. They like to say that. So basically, if you are a doctor like Pierre, you have a doctorate in physiotherapy, right, or something. So basically, if you have your own doctorate or you have a PhD, you know, it will work for you. But if you don't have that, don't worry. If you don't go and just present yourself as doctor, but at a certain moment in time, people, they will call you names that they feel comfortable with. Okay? So don't let that name, if they call you doctor, makes you feel a bit uncomfortable at a certain moment in time, or just shake your world because you're not, and they're telling you something that you're not, and you feel like a fake, and then you drown yourself in that kind of an imposter syndrome. I'm not this, I'm not that. Someday they're gonna be up to me. You know, some people, they would go to anyone with a black tunic and they call them padre, even though they're not even priests. So you can imagine that. So you can accept it, you can highlight it, but even if you highlight it, they will come to you and say, like, I don't know, I have to call you doctor. So you can imagine. So these kind of things, they do. You know, I have a client of mine, she said, you know, I remember the first day I called you and I said, what should I call you? Should I call you doctor? I told her, no, you can call me Baba. And and since then she was just laughing by seeing me. I don't, you know, like, it's not the end of it, but some people, they like to put emphasis on the importance of the person that is in front of them, just to you can use it in order to, how can I say it, to boost that kind of position where you can amplify your suggestions. So basically, when you give a suggestion that is coming from a higher ranking officer, just as being called a doctor, those suggestions will work even better. And some people, they choose to, by choice, to call you this in order to. So don't worry about that, but don't go claiming that you're an MD by, you know, that's by overinflating ego. And then you say, like, oh, you know that you just have a Zoloft or Celebrex or Ritalin or whatever it is. So some people, they'd end up, you know, prescribing. Rule number one. By the way, you will always hear me saying rule number one. They're always number one rules. So that I fail at counting. So rule number one with that: a hypnotherapist never, ever prescribe and never, ever diagnose. So don't go unless you are a trained and a licensed, lucky George around us here, psychologist. You can just take the sword of DSM-5 and throw it on the table and hit them with your best labels. Otherwise, you just don't say anything about it. You don't go telling people you have ADHD or you have a I don't know, an IA OMD, whatever it is that. So basically, these kind of things, the disorders that some people, they feel very important if they throw some definitions and some, what do you call them, these kind of abbreviations. Don't use that. Just be yourself. You're a hypnotherapist, be a hypnotherapist. So and there's nothing to shy away from. And if you are just worried about the word hypnotherapy, tell them I'm a homosologist. Believe me, it works every time I use it. It's like, he said, like, do you do hypnosis? I said, like, no, I do hummus. And basically it works. So because, you know, once you start engaging and doing having an arsenal of amazing inductions, and you know the rules of your hypno kitchen. You can induce hypnosis in a matter of seconds, and now you will learn that just in a moment. So I'm gonna say in a moment I'm gonna do it, huh? Just bear with me. So we have plenty of things that we need to look at, and they are that kind of familiarity with our clients. Don't ever forget there are rules about hypnotherapy, and when we're talking about rules about your rapport with your client, basically, you know, for the people that will talk about rapport itself, you know, how to create rapport, and these kind of things that we thought everything, the concept of the subconscious mind, it wasn't created, you know, until not very long time ago by Pierre Janet. The subconscious mind didn't exist before Pierre Janet. There was an unconscious mind, maybe, but a subconscious mind. It was, you know, coined by Pierre Janet, which is good, not a Freudian. And from there on, there's a big thing happening when it comes to the subconscious mind, and then we go forward into those rules of the therapy itself. Okay, so why did I say that? Because hypnosis itself and the word rapport that we create, it was coined also by Pierre Janet. Okay, so not the hypnosis, the rapport term. So Pierre Janet created subconscious mind and rapport, and he's a right. So it wasn't something coming. So basically, we kind of use a lot between the two things, and even though they are two totally different modalities, but they piggyback each other, literally. As Freud used to say, we owe it to hypnoanalysis that paved the road to psychoanalysis. And it's not that it doesn't mean that hypnoanalysis is psychoanalysis. It has nothing to do with it. But basically, hypnoscopy and hypnoanalysis, they were the ancestors of what we call now hypnotherapy. So hypnoscopy, what we call nowadays guided imagery, that's hypnoscopy. And hypnoanalysis, that's what we call nowadays still hypnoanalysis. Sorry to burst your bubble, we didn't change that. So basically, we go on some of the rules that you need to always remember. Hypnosis and hypnotherapy really it is a science, and hypnoscience, a project, the latest project is one of the projects that went into hypnoscience. It was in Belgium. The other one was the latest. It was with the University of Zurich in Switzerland, and with Omni. Yeah, thank you. So basically, it has plenty of evidence-based, loads of statistics, and plenty of fMRI researches happening to it. So basically, it's science, literally, and there are so many things that they are crude in data. If you are about to embark that road, you just be my guest. I'm interested, but I'm not gonna mention anything here. That's one. So basically, it's science. It's not mysticism. It is not, you know, and this is what pisses me off, by the way. Hypnotherapist, you enter, the first thing that welcomes you, a big statue of Buddha with loads of incense, and, you know, this kind of mystic kind of music, and like, whoa, wait. We try our best to step away from that, and here goes someone that's practicing something else, what they call hypnotherapy. To each his own, to each her own. It's not the end of the world. But basically, the more you put mysticism into hypnotherapy, the more you just push it away from what it is. Because most, if not all, ancestors in hypnosis and hypnotherapy itself were literally medical doctors, literally, from Hippocrates up until now. Okay, even the people in ancient Egypt, they were, what do you call them, witch doctors. Basically, they were doctors also, even though they were witch doctors. So you can imagine it stemmed from loads of thing. Maybe they ditched it for many other reasons, but it didn't mean that that kind of practice is a bad thing to do on a medical realm. Rule number 2, don't be more invested than the client. I swear to God, I've seen people being destroyed by not following this rule. Don't ever be more invested than the client. You will be facing suicidal people. You will be facing people that they have so many problems in the family. You will be facing people that have been suffering for years. You go being invested in their issues, you will drown. And as we say, you wrestle the pig, you get dirty, and the pig likes it. It's their playground. They've been struggling with it for a very long time. You go there, you will drown so deep. And so basically, rule number 2, if you want to put it on a, I don't know, engrave it on your ceiling when you sleep, look at it. Don't be more invested than the client. It doesn't mean you don't have to be empathic and just having compassion and be there for your client. But seriously, every one of us, we go home, we take our clients in our minds and thoughts, we just go and do researches about the case. That means we're carrying that. But if that client with secondary gain, as we were talking about, with that doubtful part, doesn't want it to happen, don't expect it to happen. As Dave Allman used to say, want it to happen, expect it to happen, watch it happen. Talking to that client. So if that client doesn't want it to happen, doesn't want to expect it to happen, so basically you're gonna watch it not happening. So believe me, you don't go just take their heads and just bang it against the table so they can go in deep hypnosis. So rule number 2, don't be more invested than the client. See the whole of the person, the good and bad. Okay, so sometimes you might end up, watching only the good stuff. There are bad stuff, and sometimes you see only the bad stuff, but there are good stuff. Make sure that not every single thing that your client will say is polarized into bad, good. Just see the holistic view. Step away, look from behind. If you go being involved and sit inside, you will be part of that. And believe me, you will find yourself a part in the struggle. If you're doing parts therapy or IFS, you will take part with one part. So you'll be defending one part against the other, while this is a no-no. Okay? Back in the days of Charlie Tebbutt, that's Roy Hunter's teacher, he used to do that. He used to step on the side of one part. It was work in progress until Roy pointed it out. So basically you have to stay in the middle, be a mediator. That's where the parts therapy, it was called parts mediation therapy, which unfortunately one of our very own coined it to himself, but it wasn't his. Do you know who that was, Joanne? That it rhymes with I'm not gonna say that. We have I'm gonna stay politically correct, but I have to point it out. Yeah, something D'Artagnan, yeah.
Yeah.
So basically D'Artagnan and the Three Musketeers, they coined that thing out of something else. So rule number 4, remember, you only know that client, patient, or whatever you can call it, through a narrow window. You just met that person. Maybe you met that person for 10, 15, 20 sessions. You know that person. If you met that person for 20 sessions, maybe in total you've known that person for 24 hours. You don't know anything about that person. So you don't go judging that person or just play God on that by diving deep, thinking that you know that person. You only know them through that very narrow window of time, and the time you shared with them. And this is something that you will face later on, where you are in the middle of the session and all of a sudden you've asked that question, let's say, one of the questions that I ask usually, how long have you been married, ma'am? And we go like, let's say 20 years. How many children do you have? Basically, I have 3. And did you have any miscarriages or abortions? No. Works like that. We go forward in that, and then here goes an abortion. And here goes another abortion. And here goes another abortion. What the hell? I was shy to say that. So basically, if you go conducting your session without just emphasizing on those kind of things, you wouldn't know anything about it. And then you will go deeper and just punching bags around that trauma where the guilt is eating her from all the things that she done during her teenage. So when you ask that question about where were you married, like how long have you been married, any children, any abortions, she only associated the abortions with the married life. She didn't talk about the abortion that happened before that. Make sure to know that person only through that window and look at that window. But sometimes you need to just step aside and look from a wider perspective. Otherwise, you will find yourself with plenty of surprises, and it's no surprise. You only know them through that small window. So don't bash yourself about not knowing them. You will not know them ever. 5, it's the client or the patient. It's their life. It's not your life. You can't live their own life. You can't live with them. You can't live it with them. Okay? So by going back to the second rule, don't be more invested than your own client, don't go living their life. So if you are going through their life and feeling heavy burden after these sessions due to whatever transference they did or due to whatever it triggered in you, it's no coincidence. You need to just go to your friendly therapist and do the work on yourself. It's not the end of the world. Everyone is a human being. Yeah, but where Danielle would go. So basically, we're gonna chain each other here. So basically, yeah, it's a support system. So basically, you don't, if it triggers something in you, if you go living their own life, it feels so hard on you to the point where you will not be able to cope with it. And this, okay, for whoever fought me, she wanted to do couple therapy. When you're facing narcissistic behavior in a couple, believe me, they will tow you around that you will go home and sit under your shower in a fetal position crying. Those people are reptilians from a different planet. You will never come upon them. If you find yourself drowned into that, living their own life, they will destroy you like no one else. I'm not making anyone afraid of them. I just want you to know, if you don't get invested, if you don't live their life, you're immune. As simple as that. You see them from that narrow window only. You don't look beyond that. So once you start stretching around, you're gonna face the consequences. This is something I cannot say it but to laugh. You cannot save people from themselves. Deal. You cannot save them from themselves. You go there, you enter that session, you just want to do, like, I know I will be able to save you, I will be able to help you. No, you cannot save them from themselves. If they don't want to happen, it will never happen. Joanne.
Daniel, I apologize. I didn't catch rule number 1.
Rule number 1 is hypnosis is a science, is not like a mysticism or something. It's not a woo-woo. Okay, so basically, for people that act like, they in their own office or clinic or practice area, they just put all these kind of mystic kind of, I don't know. I'm not gonna hit on other people. I do clinical hypnotherapy, so I'm not supposed to have like drums and African masks on the wall, and it smells like it smells like plenty of inside, as if it's like a Buddhist temple or something. So basically, rule number 6: you cannot save people from themselves. You cannot bring anyone to therapy, and if anyone wants to bring anyone to therapy, let them go to a psychotherapist, not to you, because it's impossible for you to put anyone in hypnosis And if you want to work with that person in waking hypnosis, we're coming into that to tell you how to do that. Rule number 7 for success: place the power in the hand of the client or the patient. And here we go to Carl Rogers, and this is what we call client-centered approach, or like, it's some people, they think client-centered, it means the marketing and the sales and, you know, the client is the king kind of thing. Somehow, yes, but in therapy, it's not like that. When we're talking about client-centered therapy or approach, it means that the client, him or herself, will come out with the solution. So for success, place the power in the hand of your client. It means that your client is the only person who can fix their own problem. Okay, so you don't go playing God, and you don't think, like, as I always say, the hypnotherapy is an ingrate career. They are healed, they leave, they don't remember you, and they give themselves the credit for which it's true. They did it. You didn't do anything. You just guided them. As Dave Ellman would say, we are merely pilots of dreams. Don't do anything. We're just guides. So the other rule that I said in the beginning, when it comes to want it to happen, expect it to happen, what should happen if they want to do that with mental expectancy, and the other 2 rules, you don't prescribe and you don't diagnose. There's one also, plenty of rules. Jesus. So one of these rules when it comes to those clients, you don't lead, you always guide. So as a hypnotherapist, you don't play doctor, you don't play guy, you don't play God, and you don't play the leader. Okay, so you don't go coaching on those people and giving them all this kind of speech. You know, it's, you guide them and then they will do it themselves. Sometimes they need a push, but you don't go pushing the whole time. If we want to look at it this way, those rules, you follow them and you will have plenty of amazing conscious. So 1, hypnosis is a science. It's not mysticism, so don't treat it as such. Don't be more invested than your client. See the person, good and bad, as a whole. Just remember, you're only, you know, the client through a very limited window. The client, and don't go living their life. Okay, so it's their life. Don't go live it for them. And you can save people from themselves. Always be client-centered. Put the power in the hands of the client. Do not prescribe. Do not diagnose. And the most importantly, do not lead. Always guide. Okay, you know these. You're entering the realm of hypnotherapy. Any questions? Anything? You know, you're interrupting me anytime, so basically I won't ask any question. You just pop up. One thing for sure, if we're talking about, you know, the subconscious mind and why the mind and what is it all about, we have simple rules also, plenty of rules, simple rules of the mind. 1, every thought or idea causes a physical reaction. Everyone knows that, right? Feelings, images, thoughts, emotions, sensations that they lie in the subconscious mind will create a certain reaction. A reaction becomes a behavior, repetition of that behavior becomes a habit, and becomes a habit that is basically a what we call a protective mechanism, like at a certain point in time. This is why we say the subconscious mind is a self-protective system. It's self-preserving, so it will be impossible to change that habit without accessing the subconscious mind. So every thought or idea causes a physical reaction, and that physical reaction by repetition can create physical damage. So you can imagine excessive acid in your stomach can create an ulcer, period. Excessive sadness that will go ahead in time, it will literally break your heart. Okay, literally. So if you go searching for broken heart, I cannot say that's a Japanese name. I cannot. It's like it does exist. So basically, your heart can literally break. And these kind of thoughts, ideas can really affect you physically. 2, what the mind expects tends to be realized. This is my personal favorite. It's all about mental expectancy. You don't expect it to happen, it will never happen. Believe me. The first thing you do, someone comes into your practice and they say, I have this, 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 and that. You're going to ask them, can you imagine your life without it? Can you imagine your life without a cigarette? Can you imagine your life being lived in peace without intrusive thoughts? If they say no, then you're going to face a big mess. If they don't expect themselves to be healed, again, we go back to the first questions. We have to go through parts work that is related to the doubtful part and secondary gains, etc., 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 etc. Or you have to up the game and just make that virtually cold pain higher. So they will say like, give it to me. I expect it to happen. Okay, so basically it's putting them on the fork in the road where you either just continue whatever you're doing from here to 10 years and destroy your life, or just go on a very narrow, very stiff road where you need to do some effort and just jump from the other side victorious. So whatever the mind expects tends to be realized. Rule number 2. Rule number 3, imagination is more powerful than knowledge when dealing with your own mind or the mind of another. You know that at any moment in time in your sessions, you're in hypnosis too. Do you know that? At a certain moment in time, you've finished your session and said like, I wish I recorded that. That was an amazing speech. How did I come up with those little words? And yeah, because you're in hypnosis. Lucky you, but yeah, not very lucky, because if you were ever to transcribe these words, you could have been Shakespearean to the bones, maybe. I don't know. You could have put Anthony Robbins to shame. But basically, because you connect on subconscious level, and this is where the imagination, we call it imagination, is more powerful than knowledge, and imagination lies in the subconscious mind. Again, remember, feelings, images, thoughts, emotions, and sensations. The subconscious mind is a thinking mind, right? No, it's a feeling mind. The conscious mind is a thinking mind. The thought is triggered by the subconscious mind. The thinking is made by the conscious mind. And this is the most confusing thing, because most of the people, they think the thought itself is conscient. And this is why I say like, I'm over analytical. Yeah, that means that you think a lot. It doesn't mean that you create thoughts. Okay, that's a very intricate thing. If you think a lot, it doesn't mean that you are triggering thoughts. Thoughts that are triggered by the subconscious mind. So basically, they do not excuse you. A thought will come, and then you choose to consciously to think about it. This is why we call them intrusive. They just come. So the word, the noun thought, is totally different from the verb to think. The noun thought is a subconscious construct. The verb to think is a conscious behavior or mechanism. If we put it this way, and we're going into nouns and verbs, one of, actually two words that shouldn't be used when it comes to imagination and creating the imagination, because your subconscious mind takes things literally. It's hope and try. Hope is a mess, and we're talking about the verb to hope. Hope as a noun is an amazing thing. Having hope means that you are going and striving forward. To hope is not to do the thing. To try, it doesn't mean that you even did it. Subconscious will take it literally. If I tell you now, try and touch your nose, you will never be able to do that. Because if you touch your nose, it means you touched your nose. If you try to touch your nose, your finger will be hovering. Okay, yeah. So this is try. So when you say, I try, then it means you don't touch, literally. If you touch it, then it's the verb, I touched my nose. It's not I tried to touch my nose. If you want to put it this way, I tried to touch my nose and I succeeded touching my nose, it means that you touched your nose. It doesn't mean, you know, the first part was trying. Okay, so the trying doesn't have the execution. So this is why when someone uses the verb try a lot subconsciously, it means they're not doing it. So and this is not an advert, sponsored advertisement by Nike. Just do it. So it has nothing to do with the company. So it just do it. Don't try. Just do it. And this is very important. So the noun hope is important. The verb to hope is a mess. So basically, to try and to hope are failure's ugly cousins. Sorry to say that. So imagination is more powerful than knowledge when dealing with your own mind or the mind of the other. So basically, imagination being an image coming out from the subconscious mind. To be able to imagine it is me able to have an image of whatever is projected in the future that will have a reference, you going toward it. So you can imagine yourself slim and trim, you will be able to reach that image because then you have a reference. If you say like, I imagine myself losing weight, what does that mean? Nothing. Yeah, you can go like 5 kilos and then go 3 kilos down. That's losing weight, but basically you have gained 2. By having an image in front of you, just getting that subconscious image and standing rigidly and just like trying as much to simplify it. It's not that simple, but basically you go forward with it and you will be able to reach out for an image as a reference. This is why you go comparing whatever happened before and after. Anyway, so that's imagination. 4, once an idea has been accepted by the subconscious mind, it remains until it is replaced for another idea. So basically, your subconscious mind hates the void. If you go there and change something in your subconscious mind, not your or your clients, if you change that part by removing it, the subconscious mind will bring something and put it instead. So you can imagine those people just stopping to smoke without having another alternative to do whatever you need to do. You will look at them and they will become obese for so many different reasons. But basically, they have to compensate the sugar that is in the cigarette, and they find themselves eating lots of sweets, and then they will gain weight. Or if you just tell them not to, bite their nails without putting another mechanism for that habit, they end up just pulling their hair maybe, or just playing with their clothing. It's just like they will substitute unless you deal with root causes when it is an avoiding kind of mechanism. So basically, once the idea has been accepted by using, let's say, biting my fingernails, because whenever I'm bored, I bite my fingernails. When I was like 5 years old in school or 8 years old in school, if that is accepted by the subconscious mind, that is, it works, then I'll keep on doing that until I just get something else accepted by the subconscious mind, which is, you don't need to bite your fingernails. Basically, let's write something or draw, and then this idea accepted by the subconscious mind, it will substitute the other. So this will bring us to a very important thing. 4 types of suggestions are accepted by the subconscious mind. Actually, it's only 1. You have 4 suggestions that are thrown at the subconscious mind. The first one is, I like that suggestion, I know it will work. The second one is, I like the suggestion, I hope it will work. The third one is, I don't like the suggestion, I don't want it to work. And the fourth one, I don't care about that. That's just, I don't care if it will work. Only one of them will stick. It is, I like the suggestion, I know it will work. All the rest are thrown in the bin. So it should be mental expectancy and accepted. This is the thing that we defined in the beginning about the bypass of the critical faculty and the establishment of an acceptable selective thinking. Okay, it should be accepted by the subconscious mind. Each suggestion acted upon creates less opposition to the successive suggestion. And this is the law of compounding. Who knows the law of compounding? So now I will give, should I give you a break? Or I keep going? I can keep going for 5, 6 hours, 10 hours. Don't mind me. Keep going, keep going. Okay, so I will entertain you with some of my amazing drawing. We're talking about hypnosis and hypnotherapy, right? I'm going to draw the mind model, which is one of the most important thing that I like people to learn, because it's very important to understand, and it's very easy to teach. This mind model was coined by Gerald Kine, based on two major stuff. Okay, it's we all know the conscious unconscious Freudian iceberg. What we have here, as I always say, your mom got pregnant. Your mom got pregnant with you, and here goes, there was something we call the unconscious mind. That unconscious mind, basically, it holds no consciousness whatsoever. It holds no consciousness whatsoever, and it means one thing and one thing, it's kind of somatic, okay? It holds your blood flowing, your autoimmune system, your automatical bodily functions, that's your eyes will flutter, your heart will be pumping, whatever, these kind of things. Basically, it's all the somatic system, your cells, you know, duplicating, whatever it is. So this is the unconscious mind. And then by week 8, you start developing nostrils. And week 21 or 22, you start developing ears in the womb of your mom. So basically, that was the entrance to what we call the subconscious mind. And that created the sensations. So you started smelling, you started hearing. This is why sometimes you regress someone and they go back to the womb, because the hearing is there. They get the sensation. So what I said before, feelings, images, thoughts, emotions, and sensations, they are part of the subconscious mind that we call the feeling mind. Okay, so those feelings, images, thoughts, emotions, and sensations are very important for a simple reason that every single one of these, as we said, will trigger a certain behavior. Remember the rules we're talking about? And that behavior, by repetition, becomes a habit. Those feelings, images, thoughts, emotions, sensations that created behaviors and habits, those habits were created for a simple reason. The subconscious mind is self-preserving. It's out of protection. At the same time, it's so lazy to change. If it's not broken, don't fix it. And it holds the long-term memories. And now in a minute, I'll explain what long-term memories are. So that kind of system that is there, it's 95% of who you are. And then by the age of 7, 6, it's debatable, but I will keep the 7, age 7. There is the what we call the let me see this, the conscious mind. Okay, that's the conscious mind. The conscious mind is a thinking mind. It is logical, analytical, rational. It has short-term memory. Okay, let's move it here. And it has something very important, which is willpower. Why willpower is part of the conscious mind? For a simple reason, because it is a process. It needs to be triggered. It doesn't just happen this way. So basically, when you're using willpower, you're using your conscious mind. And this is why you're pushing yourself, you're pushing your limits. That being known, I will just enter a bit into what we call long-term memories. Long-term memories are events plus an emotion. Basically, it's not emotion. It's emotions, feelings, images, thoughts, emotions, or sensations. Okay, so it's one of these. But let's put it this way: feelings, images, thoughts, emotions, and sensations. I'll have to put the keyboard this way. It's easier for me to highlight it from you. Second. Okay, so yeah, that's easier. So basically, those feelings, images, thoughts, emotions, and sensations will trigger behavior, habits. So it gets here as a long-term memory for a simple reason. Whenever you have an event plus an emotion or whatever from the rest, you have it registered in the long-term memory. I will give you an example. The difference between short-term memory and long-term memory, the short-term memory doesn't encompass any emotion or a feeling or anything. So if I ask you now to remember or just like recite your phone number that's using your short-term memory, you will say your phone number and you will feel nothing about it, right? Now, if you felt anything about your phone number, that's going to be a big thing. Okay. So if I asked you, what did you eat today? What was your last meal? You can remember that. You can say it easily. Okay. But the difference is, if I ask you, tell me about a traumatic event or a sad event or a happy event, basically, I'm highlighting something that from the long-term memory. The moment you trigger that event in your memory, you'll have an emotion attached to it. As simple as that. The event itself happened, let's say, 20 years ago. The emotion is felt in the now. Okay? So this is why it's very easy using the power of the subconscious mind through hypnosis to tackle that issue here, because it's in the now. For a simple reason, if that emotion was still in 20 years, we will be having a problem being jobless. We have nothing to do because people will not suffer anything because those things are just sent there. Those things are either buried in the subconscious mind, but they keep happening to us every single day. That's what Dave Ellman would say. Okay. We live in the light of our reflected actions. Everything that happened to us in the past keeps happening to us every single day on subconscious level. Okay, so this is why it happens in the now. So that's the difference between long-term memory and short-term memory. The moment you have an event plus an emotion or an image or anything related, feeling or emotion I'm talking about, that's a long-term memory. Anything else, that's a short-term memory. As simple as that. Now, why I said the willpower is a process, but willpower, based on researches, it's like a bucket of water. Okay, that bucket of water is the only water you have at home. With that water, you're gonna do your pasta, do your dishes, have your shower, mop the floor, I don't know, wash your clothing. Believe me, it won't last. Usually, that willpower bucket is used for everything. And the more you use it for several subjects, the faster it gets depleted. This is why if you're using willpower to be able to sustain assholes at work, and you want to sustain a diet and stop smoking, and I don't know, all those things, you will find yourself depleted, literally. So by pushing yourself, using your willpower, it will be depleted. It's just like a battery that you're gonna use plenty of withdrawing from it. At that moment in time, it just gets depleted, and then you have to wait for it to replenish again. And so this is why when you're using willpower, it will last you 2 weeks on one single subject. Okay? That being said, we go back to the model. What happens here? In order to change any habit or anything that is lying there, any perception about a feeling or anything that happened on the subconscious level, we need to access the subconscious mind, right? We have, I like rules, even though I break them all. Thinking and feeling. One of the major rules: when you think, you don't feel, and when you feel, you don't think. As simple as that. So if you are thinking, you have no access to the feeling level, and if you're feeling, you have no access for the thinking level. So if you're feeling a lot, basically you are in a fight, flight, freeze mode, you have access to this level. So it doesn't have anything to do with it. So basically it's unconscious that came with your reptilian brain, crocodile, whatever reaction from the Stone Age, even though it's debatable. But anyway, feeling or thinking, either feeling or thinking. You cannot think your way to go into the subconscious mind. This is why if you try to fight your own demons, as we say, you go just solving your feeling issues, you're going to be using your willpower and trying to knock that door. You will not be able to have anything that will open. Okay? So as simple as that. Just simple. So the more you try to open that door, the more you will find yourself so the more you try to push it, the more the subconscious mind will be stubborn on that, and the more you try to use your and I will always use the word try, because they're not doing it. The more you try to use your conscious mind, the more things will go bazookas. Okay, because once you start using your willpower, the subconscious mind will sit there, lean down, and just sip a papaya on a Hawaiian beach. Doesn't care. It won't change anything. So what happens here? There is something on the walls of the conscious subconscious. So basically we call it the critical faculty of the conscious mind. I always give it the analogy of, that bouncer at the road. That's a six-pack, by the way. Don't laugh a lot. Always tell people about it. Those are muscles. Those are six-packs. That's a bouncer. So that bouncer, which is the critical faculty in this case, will do whatever it needs to do to not let any of these suggestions go in. So at a certain moment in time, if I want to, let's say, send a suggestion, which is, I want to stop eating chocolate, for example. And that suggestion is sent through the critical faculty to change that habit. Okay? As simple as that. But what happens, that guy here will stop that suggestion and will scream to the big boss, the subconscious mind, and saying, boss, let's say Margarita wants to stop eating chocolate, and that habit has been going on forever. And the subconscious mind will look there in the records and say, like, she started eating chocolate to compensate a certain anger thing. As long as this is working for her, I'm not going to change anything. You know what? I'm too lazy to change that. And if it's not broken, don't fix it. It's not the time to do it. Basically, it has been working for 20 years. Send it to the willpower. If it works with the willpower, I will consider accepting. Remember, accepting the idea. So basically, I will consider accepting. What happens? You use it with the willpower. The willpower goes like tum, 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 and it doesn't work. And again, and again, and again. And what happens? The subconscious mind will say, like, see, I told you, it will not work. And then this suggestion is thrown away. What we need to do, we need to bribe that guy here by giving it a golden $10 bill. That's what we call it. You know, we give that guy a bribe, and we bypass the critical faculty, and we establish an acceptable selective thinking by sending that suggestion to the subconscious mind directly. And when we're done, and this is accepted, okay, so I'll take this one, and since it is accepted, we change it to green. That habit is changed. We emerge our client, we bring back the critical faculty, and we're like $10 poorer. Okay, so basically that thing, what we did, the bypass of the critical faculty, the establishment of an acceptable selective thinking, this is what we call hypnosis. As simple as that. Now, how we did establish the acceptable selective thinking and how we changed the habit, that's the therapy. So it goes like that. It's hypno and therapy, right? It's hypnotherapy. So basically, that kind of thing, hypnotherapy, is two words. It's hypno and therapy. The hypnosis is the hypnotic process and state, and the therapy are techniques used by psychotherapists or other hustlers and, I don't know, magicians, whatever. The techniques that we use and we learn. So everything counts. In order to make the therapy part works, you need to be on a good foundation in hypnosis, or what I call hummus. Okay, that's a plate. Okay, so put someone in hummus in hypnosis, and you will be able to perform these techniques. Okay, basically be good in that. Just let's be professional, which I can. So hypno and therapy, that's the big mess. I don't know, Pierre is still with us, or did he fall out? So so for a simple reason, it is very important to understand the concept of hypno and therapy. So if I want to put it this way, our techniques, our ways of doing things, they are just like a burger. Okay. For the ones that missed the burger, I'm gonna do a blue burger. Okay, that's tomatoes, a bit of salad, and okay. This is, let's put it this way, induction. This is the emerging. These two or hypno. Okay, we put someone in hypnosis, we get them out of hypnosis. What goes in here, that's the therapeutic system. Techniques. So regression to cause, EMDR, NLP stuff, core transformation, parts therapy, whatever you do, parts mediation, inner child work, that's here. Basically, if you go taking this one and this one out, you will find yourself in what is known as psychotherapy. This is why, as Steve Parker used to say, use psychotherapy in hypnosis and it will enrich it. Use hypnosis in psychotherapy in the protocol itself, it will be diluted. Okay. So that being said, I'll refrain from using this and go back to my bun. As simple as that. In that therapeutic domain, some people, they mix things together and they mess up the whole concept. So basically, in the techniques itself, you have what we call them. Yeah, Joanne.
There was a question in the chat. What is EMDR?
Some people, they use it, they call it hypno waving and hypnosis if they use it. And there's a technique that can be used with something like an hypnotic EMDR by, and this is something interesting. I will pop out from the sharing. I'll continue sharing later. It's eye movements desensitization and reprocessing. The R in like the rapid R, it's REM. That's REM state. That's rapid eye movement. By the way. So these kind of techniques, you can use them in that state. So basically, one of these techniques that I like it, actually, it was what's his name? Freddie Jacquin. He used something like that, and in Omni, Hans teaches something he calls it hypno waving. Basically, let's put it this way: if you want to try it, you can try it on your own. If you have a level of discomfort, or your client has a level of discomfort, which is related to fear, let's say, or stress, or whatever it is, all you need to do is just tell them to write down, or tell you from 0 to 10, that being the level of discomfort. We call it the subjective unit of discomfort. That's SUD. Subjective unit of discomfort being 0, being in seventh heaven, 10 being in hell. Okay, so once they put that number, let's say 8 or 10 or whatever, all you need to do is that's being, you put them in hypnosis with eyes closed. They have to imagine the number. Okay, let's say 8. They imagine the 8 as big as a big building, as if they're standing in front of that 8, and let them do, they can put graffiti or paint it or whatever it is, and then they, with their eyes closed, let them follow that number going from left to right, and then make it faster, and then make it slower, and then send it further ahead until it's a dot, and then let it come forward toward them just like a train, stand there and morph into number 7, and so on and so forth. And at the end, when you reach 0, that 0, you just flip it left and right, and then send it, and then bring it forward. When the 0 is there, tell them just to, imagine as if those burdens are a backpack. Just put it on the ground and step into that 0, into the whole of the 0, by going into a place of serenity, dreams, and amazing stuff, and just feel how light and peaceful they are. And one of the good things you can say, just imagine the laughter of your loved ones. maybe they're kids, maybe they're just whatever it is. Those things that they make them click, and so you trigger their emotions while maybe imagining that they're flying inside that cloudy kind of marshmallowish kind of place. Okay, it's that's based on EMDR and state of hypnosis. As simple as that. Yes, yeah, mostly for traumas. Now, the reprocessing of the trauma, the R and the reprocessing is just to reprocess how that trauma affected them. But let's put it this way. I use it as a patch on the wound rather than using it as a first line of defense. When it comes to trauma, I use that. I use another technique, which is the fast phobia cure. Everybody knows, maybe the NLPers, they know the fast phobia cure. You go into a theater and you watch that movie. Basically, it wasn't for the phobia, it was for the traumas, and it was Steve Andreas that came up with something like that. You connect, you dissociate, you connect, and then you edit the perception about that movie you went through. You can use that for trauma by making people imagine that they're going into a theater, and then take a breath, leave your body, go into the projection room behind the plexiglass. So basically, you're dissociating on 3 levels. You see your amazing image of yours, something you get proud of. It's on the screen. Your body is watching that, and you are up there in the projection room, watching your body, watching that. And then in that projection room, you can edit and make your own movie. So you can go through that movie on and on and on and on by repetition, and editing taking away constructs of that traumatic movie, creating another movie. And as you do it and repeat it, sometimes it's very hard, by the way, to go through it. But you have to remind them that it's a movie. You're watching a movie. You're not part of it. You have all the power to do that. You finish with it, and basically you bring it down. Or you do what we love to do, exorcism. We regress. Now, we will talk about regression in a moment. Okay. Any questions? So I will go back to the burger. Yeah. So now we know that our burger, the burger model, I call it, we have an induction, we have an emerging after doing that, and we have the therapy in between. So that part here, the more you learn, the more you learn how to use those techniques at the same, the right technique for the right client at the right time. It will make a great therapist out of you. Okay. Now, some techniques, they need thicker buns. That's why we call it a level of trance, or a deeper trance state. Okay, so it depends. So in this case, as I said, we have parts, we call them uncovering techniques, which are the what we call hypnoanalysis. And that is regression to cause. So basically, we use regression not as a therapeutic technique per se. It's a technique for hypnoanalysis to understand what the hell happened, and then we use a different technique in order to clear that. Some people, they say, like, regression to cause doesn't work when it comes to healing or fixing or recovering. Yeah, for sure. It's hypnoscopy, what we call, they used to call it hypnoscopy. So basically using seeing the things in the hypnotic state. Could be guided imagery, and it could be seeing the root cause of things. So basically uncovering techniques, and then you have clearing techniques. So I can imagine. So from hypnoanalysis to hypnoscopy, guided imagery, all those techniques, and that thing here. Okay. That being said, we're going to go back to the rules, which is each suggestion acted upon creates less opposition to the successive suggestion. You know, we were counting those. And that will take us into something that we call the law of compounding. Some people will see it as something very complicated. Once you understand the law of compounding, believe me, reading your scripts, if you want to read scripts, is going to be so much different and more successful. As simple as that. How? Anyone knows what the law of compounding is?
Yeah, we
basically,
file the
yeah, if I don't get replies from my students about the laws of compounding, I'm gonna kill myself on live TV. Okay, so laws of compounding, it is like that. I give a suggestion, it's weak, very weak. I give another suggestion, the first suggestion gets stronger, but the second suggestion is weak. So the second, I give a third suggestion, the second suggestion gets stronger, the first suggestion is very strong, and the third suggestion is weak. So basically, the more I stack suggestion over the suggestions get stronger. The thing is, that suggestion doesn't have to be what we call a different suggestion. Okay? It doesn't have to be a different suggestion. It means that you can do something we call a direct drive by giving one suggestion and repeating it a gazillion of times. And this is how, when you repeat things, the subconscious mind is used to familiarity. Once the subconscious mind is used to familiarity, you can use this familiarity to your own benefit. And when you use that familiarity to your own benefit, it feels so good that things will click. Okay, so in order to have those suggestions work, you just have to repeat them. And the more you repeat them, the more you know, the subconscious mind will like it. This is why I'll give you an example here about familiarity. Some people, they break up and then they get entangled with another relationship, and they come to you and they will ask, you know, why do I attract the wrong people all the time? I always attract the wrong people. I always attract narcissists. I always attract people just like my dad. I always attract these kind of things. Okay, or this is familiarity, and this is your subconscious mind, that it's not attracting. Actually, you get familiar with that kind of behavior subconsciously, and you find yourself attached to it. And suggestions are the same. So I'm going to give you an example about how to, let's put it this way, get things done. Okay. If I want to put suggestions, okay, the first suggestion, as I said, it's weak. Okay, let's put it this way. That's the first time I gave a suggestion. The second time I give a suggestion is here. Let's put it this way. 1, 2, I'm going to repeat it. I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times is enough. Okay, so basically, let's put it this way. I gave the suggestion once, it's weak. When I give the second suggestion, I add another one here. It gets stronger. So I give another suggestion here. This one gets stronger. This one gets stronger. I give another suggestion. This one gets stronger. This one gets stronger. This one gets stronger. You can imagine you gave 4 suggestions. You got yourself 4, 3, 2, and 1. You have like 10 suggestions now, as if you have compounded that thing. The first one, as if you said it 4 times, even though you said it once. The second one, as if you said it 3 times, even though you said it once. Can you imagine that? So if I go writing that, you know, emphasizing on that pyramid, of suggestions can you see that? It's getting bigger and bigger, and the more I repeat the suggestion, the more the rest of the suggestions will grow and get higher. Whatever. Okay, so basically, if I said the suggestion 8 times, I said 8 suggestions only, it's as if I said the first suggestion 8 times, the second suggestion 7 times, so on and so forth. You can imagine by the end of your 15th suggestion, the first suggestion is very powerful. So if you start with, you are a non-smoker and you remain a non-smoker for the rest of your life, okay? And then you give another suggestion. As of this moment, smoking is something from the past. Basically, you just given that suggestion, and then you reinforced you are a non-smoker for the rest of your life suggestion. And then you give a third suggestion. From now on, you will only have the happy stuff, or whatever, the healthy stuff. So basically, the smoking gets reinforced and the non-smoking gets reinforced, and so on and so forth. So there is a way to read a script. Even though the script is in front of you, you can repeat those lines. And I will take the occasion to do something quite interesting. And with Joanne's permission, I'm going to read from Joanne's book. This book by Joanne.
You have my permission. Go ahead.
Okay, good. So
I'm flattered and honored, Daniel.
Thank you. So basically, from Joanne's book, I'm going to read you a sample script. Okay. So basically, it's an induction. It's a coin drop. Okay, this induction is a good induction. Basically, you drop the coin and then everything falls apart. I'm going to read that thing as it is written. So just focus your attention on the coin. So basically, you're having a coin in your fingers. Just place a coin. A quarter is a good one to use, or in our case, 500 lira, in the palm of the hand, toward the outer edge of the palm, and press it tightly. And say, just focus your attention on the coin. Notice whatever sensation you feel in your hand around the coin. And these sensations will become clearer to you as you focus on them. Soon, you will begin to feel subtle movement, sensations in the hand. Okay? I'm going to stop here. I can read it this way. But you can imagine, I'm going to use the law of compounding and reading the same 3 lines. It's going to be this way. And believe me, if you focus on my words, you will start feeling so droopy, drowsy, sleepy, to the point you will feel around. It's only the 3 lines, huh? I'm not going to go through the induction. It's as simple as that. So just focus your attention on the coin. Just focus your attention on the coin. Focusing your attention on the coin, notice whatever sensation you feel in your hand around the coin. Just notice whatever sensation you feel in your hand as you focus and putting your attention on the coin. And these sensations will become clearer to you as you just focus your attention on the coin. These sensations will become clearer to you as you focus on them. And notice whatever sensation you feel in your hand around the coin. Soon, you will begin to feel subtle movement, sensation in the hand as you just focus your attention on the coin. Believe me. So yeah, I will put the name of the book. It's a potpourri of hypnotic techniques. So by those 3 lines, by compounding that suggestion, believe me, if that person doesn't want to look at that coin and focus on it, it will mean everything to him or her in his life or her life. So by putting all those suggestions, the subconscious mind will accept those suggestions. Basically, this is an induction. So you can imagine if I want to go and take one, script, just like a simple script that you can use, and then you can just repeat the suggestions on and on and on and on. So when you read scripts, you read them with attention to details, and if you want, you can highlight those suggestions that you will be repeating. If you're not doing it yet, once you start doing it, tell me what will come out of it. It will change so much of the performance of reading scripts. Now, scripts are useful. We call them, surface techniques for surface issues. Now, I'm not going, as I always say, I'm not going to shoot a mosquito with a tank on the wall. I'm not going to use, regression to fix a, chewing gum problem. Okay, maybe I will need that. But if I want to just deal with simple issues, we can use that in a script kind of way. So if I want to take the opportunity and just take a script of a suggestion, I will just use this one. It's okay. It's a relaxation script. Okay, it just popped up in front of me. It's from, let's see, Gary. What's his name? Gary Madison. Okay, whatever, in front of me. So if you are nice and comfortable and you're ready to get started, just take a nice breath. Exhale that breath. And as you do, close your eyes down. You've heard all of these, right? So as you continue through these kind of things, you will reach that point where you have to give suggestions. Okay, you finish the counting and then you go into that. And from this moment on, every breath you exhale just relaxes you. That's a deepener. Okay. You can imagine how many breaths you will do. Okay. So more and more, every breath you exhale helps and guide you to drift deeper and deeper. You can repeat that 3, 4, 5 times. And basically, every time you give another suggestion, all the sounds around you will help and guide you to go deeper into relaxation. Basically, the sounds and the breathing and the sound of my voice will take you even deeper into that relaxation. So basically, the sound of my voice, the breathing, and all the sounds around you. And whichever you gave first gets stronger and stronger. So basically, you can give the suggestion of the breathing because it's repetitive. So you can imagine as the person keeps on breathing, goes deeper and deeper. And then it gets stronger. Some people, they just use that without noticing or knowing that there is something called the laws of compounding. Some people, they do. So once you know that, if you don't know it, now you know. If you know it, that's a good refresher. This is why we're here to do it. So that being said, now we know at a certain moment in time, this is what happened with the laws of compounding. So this is why when we say it, when dealing with subconscious mind and its functions, the greater the conscious effort, the less subconscious responses. This is why we said when you think you don't feel and you feel, you don't think. If you go using your conscious mind to access the subconscious mind, to give yourself suggestions without the effect of self-hypnosis that being induced by someone else, it's impossible for you to access the subconscious mind without it. So either you can record it to your client, either you can program them, or you can train them, or you can put them in a state where you can condition them, whichever way to do. And then those suggestions will act in that state. Otherwise, there's no possible way to use your conscious mind to dictate the subconscious mind. Remember, it's like the parliament. You have 5% that want to dictate the 95%. It won't work. They will have plenty of opposition, especially if they're left and right. That's a big mess. So one is thinking, one is feeling, no one will listen to the other. And the moment the thinking works, the feeling will sit back and sip on a papaya. Rule number 6, actually. An emotionally induced symptom tends to cause organic change and persisted long enough. When we're talking about symptoms, it means like what we are experiencing, right? So those symptoms, if they happen on and on and on and on and on, you will find yourself in the middle of nowhere, and you will have physical ache. You will have organic issues, just like migraine, IBS, rash, allergies, all those kind of things. They are emotionally induced symptoms, but they will create a damage. As I said, if you have a certain anger or you have a certain distress or anxiety, and that kind of emotion triggered the secretion of acid in your gastric acid actually in your stomach, what will happen, the repetition of the secretion of that acid will create an ulcer. It will literally drill a hole in your stomach. So it has an organic effect, and sometimes it's irreversible. So you can imagine, some are there as organic issues. They come to you, they have organic problems. You're not a doctor, remember, but you need to pinpoint the reason why this happened. And this is what I will tell you about. There is, anyone knows about Dr. John Sarno? I always talk about him. Dr. John Sarno came up with the concept of TMS, not PMS, TMS, and it's tension myoneural syndrome or tension myositis syndrome. Okay, the word syndrome itself, it sounds important, but it doesn't, because syndrome, it means we don't know anything about it. We don't know where it came from, and we don't know where it is going to. And this is why when we're talking about syndromes, we don't have any fast repair thing or just a fast fix. But we don't know anything about the issue. So that's a syndrome. That's why we call it syndrome. When we're talking about the tension myoneural syndrome, it means that we did everything, but they didn't know what's wrong. I have a backache. Did all the MRIs, nothing. I have a migraine. I went there. I went through fMRI. I did EMGs, the EEGs. I don't know, ECGs. Well, it doesn't matter. Nothing showed. So basically, I have IBS. I don't know where it's coming from. Again, irregular bowel syndrome. It's a syndrome. No one knows what is it all about. So it's not a disease. It's something that is coming from somewhere, but we don't know where it came from. So basically, all those emotional stuff that they acted upon our organic system. This is where we went in the unconscious mind, the first circle I drew, that they take effect on your organic physical system, and they become what we know as psychosomatic. So when dealing with the subconscious mind and its functions, the greater conscious effort to try and fix it, the less the subconscious mind will respond. So don't push your client into things. Don't push the subconscious mind. It will retaliate by being so frequently stubborn. You won't be able to open up that door. You have to befriend the dragon. You have to tame it. You have to just get to know it more and more. Okay. So that being said, in order to put someone in hypnosis, we need to do an induction, and then we do a deepener. We do a convincer. These are the things that we learned. Anyone has a specific question about inductions? Are you all familiar with the concept of how we do an induction? I will go through a Dave Allman induction, if we can say. I will put it on a system. Let's share it. A fast forward. If you want to learn one induction and you want to use it, learn the Allman induction. Okay. If it works, it will work on, let's put it, maybe 80% or 90% of the people. As simple as that. it's amazing for online, and it's simple to learn. It's repetitive. It's reproducible. It's rapid, and it's reliable. Okay, so an Elman induction, reliable, repetitive, rapid. Okay, basically the 3 R's, or reproducible, same thing as repetitive. As simple as that. It has everything in it. It has the convincers, it has the tests embedded, it has the deepeners, and basically everything, literally everything. So if we want to dissect the rapid, what we call it rapid induction, basically, because it's rapid, it's not an instant as like a hand drop. It takes very short time. We can split it into bits and pieces. The first one is what we need to do is we need to bypass the critical faculty. When I say bypass the critical faculty, is create something that is out of the norm. Mainstream media every day does it to us. They show us dead people, wars, they put us in a fear factor, they all these kind of things, or they kind of push our sexual buttons by the marketing, sex sells, everybody will say that in university, and these kind of things, they just to drop something that is very shocking at a moment in time where your critical faculty is bypassed. It's just like paying, just like I showed you here, by paying the guy here $10. That's the shocking factor to bypass the critical faculty. So in this case, we're gonna use the small group of muscle catalepsy, or what we call it, the eye relaxation. So the first part of it, put the relaxation in your eyes to the point that as long as your eyes are relaxed or eyelids are relaxed, they just won't work. And when you know they are so much relaxed to the point they won't work, give them a very good test, make sure they won't work. By saying that, usually most of the time we check if our eyes will work. That's our nature. Anything that goes against our nature will be a critical faculty bypass. Just as if you're going through the shopping mall and you arrive to the escalator, the first reflex is just to push your foot a bit further on that escalator, because you're following up the movement. And to your surprise, that escalator is stopped, and you are confused by the grill of that metallic stairs. It feels as if it's moving because you're used to it, and it will shock you. That moment, it's an amazing hypnotic induction, if you can say. Okay, so anything that will bypass your critical faculty, anything that is out of the norm, will be a critical faculty bypass. If you open your umbrella in the middle of a church, let's say, or in the middle of a room full of people, everyone will be shocked. And why are you doing that? That moment is a critical faculty bypass. You just take that moment and play with it. So that the critical faculty bypass, once this is done, it's just as if it's a shock induction. You continue by speaking. Okay, so critical faculty bypass, and you go through what we call a deepener. So we go and deepen the state. Okay, deepeners are just only to keep you underneath the subconscious level. And if I want to give it a depiction of this, if I put it this way, that's a conscious state, that's subconscious state. Okay, so basically you're here. The moment I will tell you to close your eyes, relax them to the point they won't work, and when you know they are so much relaxed to the point they won't work, when you test them, you have a critical faculty bypass. So basically you're here. Okay, you can imagine. So at that moment in time, you're a bit underneath the level of consciousness. It will feel like a bit dizzy for you. Some people, they experience dizziness. Some people, they experience something else. But basically, at that moment in time, you induce a deepener. You introduce a deepener by using the oldest method. I'll be counting down from 10 to 1. Okay. As I count down from 10 to 1, just allow your body to relax. Just induce that physical relaxation. Give yourself permission to let go of all that surface tension. You know that. So basically, by counting from 10 down to 1 and giving suggestions, accepted suggestions of 10, deeper and deeper relaxed, 9, becoming more and more relaxed, 8, doing great, continue to do whatever you're doing, perfect, just to tell the client that everything's going fine. 7, the deeper you go, the better you feel more and more relaxing, and so on and so forth. So you just give suggestions as you continue to count down. So basically, your client is here. Went deeper, but we need a deeper state. And we need to keep that client at that moment in time there. What do we do when we deepen? We go into something we call fractionation. What is fractionation? It was something that was created by Dave Ellman himself at a very young age when he read Bernheim's book, and he thought that at a certain moment in time, in order to put someone in hypnosis, it used to take 3 weeks. Yeah, 3 visits to Bernheim. 3 weeks, the person comes, and then he leaves, comes back, and he leaves, comes back. So basically what was happening, the client comes, you can imagine, it's quite a lucrative thing now. The client comes, put them in hypnosis, they leave, immerse them, and then they come back, put them back in hypnosis so it gets deeper, and then they leave, and then the third time they come. So Ellman thought to himself, you know, if they came and they left, they went home and they came back, it means they just like, they can come in 3 days rather than in 3 weeks. But if they came in 3 days, why don't they go home and come back the same day? So that's pay 3 visits. And then he thought, if they went home and came back, why don't they go out from the room and go back to the room? So he shortened it from 3 weeks to 3 days to 3 hours to 1 hour. And then he thought to himself, why do we need to do that? Let's bring someone in hypnosis, immerse him, bring him back in hypnosis, immerse him, bring him back, and this will be like 3 visits, right? So this is why we call it fractionation. We bring that someone in hypnosis, and this is where we give the suggestion. In a moment, not now, in a moment, I'm going to ask you to open and close your eyes. When I tell you to, and not before, you open your eyes. When I tell you to, you close your eyes and go deeper, relaxed, deeper than any time before. And notice how amazing that feels. So by giving the suggestion that it will feel great, it will, Dave Ellman gave that kind of thing. So you immerse that person by opening their eyes, and then close your eyes and go deeper, relaxed. And then open your eyes, close your eyes, go deeper, relaxed. Basically what was happening, it's as if they went home and came back 3 visits. So that's why he called it 3 visits to Bernheim. So by going critical faculty bypass, deepen the state, do fractionation to go even deeper, okay, at that moment here, and then what we do, and we relax the mind, okay, by well, before we can do something else. Wait, before we do that, we can go and we can test. Okay, we need to test that person if things are okay. So in here you introduce a test by either a large group of muscles catalepsy, stiffness, or a small group of muscles catalepsy, which is, at a moment I'm going to count from 1 to 5. At the count of 5, you try to open your eyes and you find you can't. The more you try to open them, the more closed they become. So that's a test. Okay, so you go like 1, your eyes are closed, 2, eyes shut, heavy, 3, 2, whatever. Okay, so basically you can introduce that test. That test can work in 3 ways. The more you try to open them, the more closed shut they become. You're testing that level of trance, if they're accepting your suggestions. 2, the more you try to open them, the more closed they become, and then you tell them stop trying, go deeper, and it will become a deepener. So that test became a deepener as well. Okay, and then at the same time, it's a convincer. Now, people, they think when we say convincer, mostly students, they think when we say convincer, it's like we are convincing our client that they are in hypnosis. Basically, we are convincing ourselves that that person is in hypnosis. So by not being able to open their eyes, it's a convincer to us that they are in an adequate state. What we can do later on, we can trigger amnesia on demand, okay? Which is by relaxing the numbers out from the mind. So now we have relaxed the mind, relaxed the body. Now we need to relax the mind. In a moment, I will make you count downward from 100 backward. You will count this way, 100, and you add up deeper relax to it. So basically, by the time you will reach 97, maybe sooner, those numbers, see, mental expectancy all the time. You expect it to disappear, want it to happen, expect it to happen, watch it happen. So basically, when we do that, we get those numbers out. So you don't go saying, you know, are the numbers out? Are the numbers out? By reminding them, you just tell them, you know, those numbers will disappear on their own. Just push them out, dispel them, make them disappear, just like a puff of smoke or something. By giving those suggestions, the person, by the reaching 96 or 97, those numbers will be out. Some students or some hypnotists will go and ask, you know, if they keep on counting, what will I do? And they panic. If you're doing this and you just like told someone that those numbers will disappear at 97 or 96, and they keep on at 95, deeper relax, 94, deeper relax, 93, deeper relax. You said like, okay, just drop it, stop counting. All those numbers will go on their own. Okay? Don't panic. Just let it flow. Okay? So don't stop at that moment. Basically, they are in a deep state already. It depends on what you need them to do. So deepeners, testers, and convincers as a discount. So this is a test as well. Okay. In fractionation, you can introduce a test as well. So by saying, in a moment, I'm going to count from 1 to 3. At the count of 3, you open your eyes. And when I tell you to close your eyes, you go deeper relaxed. Deal? So 1, 2, 3, open your eyes, close your eyes. 1, 2, 3, open your eyes, whatever. At the count of 3, they should open immediately. They go like 1, 2, and you just go silent. If they open their eyes, it means they're not following your suggestion. Okay? So basically, it's a test. If they open, you tell them, close your eyes, go deeper relaxed, follow my suggestions to the letter. If you follow my suggestion, I'll be able to help you, whatever, etc., etc. So basically, 1, 2, 3, they follow. So it's full of tests. So the element induction is very powerful, full of tests, plenty of deepeners, plenty of convincers. You go through it, and it will go amazingly great. Okay. So anyone has any questions about the element induction? Now, so now that we have induced hypnosis, basically the bun, we have induced hypnosis, we go and do whatever we need to do to solve the problem. And then we immerse them, and always immerse the person slowly. Okay, you can immerse them fast, but you might be facing something, we call it the hypnotic migraine. Okay, some people will experience a headache. They will call you after half an hour or an hour and say like, I had a slight headache, you know, it felt so heavy. Remember, every 15 minutes of hypnosis is like 4 hours of sleep. Okay, because you are out of the REM state. You are almost, your body is sleeping, but it's the total opposite of sleep. You are in very heightened state of suggestibility and focus. So basically, you're the total opposite of sleep, but basically, it feels the same, heavy, as if you've just been sleeping deep and you just been startled to wake up, and that will create that kind of what we call it a hypnotic migraine and headache. So don't be afraid of that. Tell them it will go away in 20-30 minutes. Sometimes it will last 2 hours, so don't go bazookas. Okay. Now that you have put your client in hypnosis, you perform this and you immerse them. You always immerse them with a positive suggestion. You don't want to immerse them just like saying, in a moment I'm going to count from 1 to 5. Let's say at the count of 5, you open your eyes and you feel horrible. So I don't think so. It would work this way. So you go with the positive suggestions at the way out. This is something here we say. There is something called post-hypnotic suggestions. And those are suggestions that they will take effect after the session, after the emerging. They're not suggestions that you give after the hypnosis, okay? They take effect after the hypnosis. They don't take effect after the suggestion, after the emerging, okay? So they take effect after the emerging rather than giving them after the emerging. So if you, in hypnosis, you gave the suggestion that every time you see the color green, you feel so good about yourself, okay? So when you emerge that person, when they go out, they see the color green, they feel good about themselves. That's a post-hypnotic suggestion. It takes effect after, okay? That being said, it's very important to understand the whole concept of suggestibility. So basically, once an accepted suggestion, I like the suggestion, I know it will work, things will go perfect. Okay. Now, if you have analytical clients, people, they say, I have an analytical client, over analytical clients. You know, we've heard a lot of this. You go on the forums, you find many people talking about it day on, day off. The problem is when it comes to this kind of situation, people are destroyed, literally destroyed, over analytical client as if they are coming from hell. The only thing you need to do is just to pick up the right induction and understand what is it that is keeping them away from hypnosis. Again, two things. One of them is fear of hypnosis itself. Then you haven't told them enough about it. Second thing, fear of what they might be facing in hypnosis. This week, I have faced 2 clients that they wanted to snap out of that session, even though it was a dissociative state of work. It was during chair therapy. So, so the thing is, if you're facing these kind of clients, don't be despaired. Don't feel so inadequate. The only thing you need to do is just understand why they're not going there, because it's all in their hand. It's up to them to decide whether they want to be in hypnosis, yes or no. And again, we follow the rules that we talked about. Don't be more consumed, more invested in the session than your client, and you cannot live their life on them, for them, and you cannot force them into hypnosis because they need to be, working on it themselves. So you need to guide them into it. Sometimes I've worked with people that it took them, they wanted to work, but they always seem to not being able to go in hypnosis. But basically, it wasn't about them. It was about me. It was, I wasn't actually knowing what kind of induction I had to use. Those people wasn't sensibilized in things, and then I was just banging my head until I just remembered, never be more invested than your client in the session. And I came one day and said, like, okay, listen, if you don't want to work, you can go. It's on me. You can go. When you're ready, you can come back. It took them 6 months. They came back and they said, okay, I can't handle it anymore. I want to work on it. I said, okay, you follow my suggestions to the letter. I'll be able to help you. You don't do that, no one will be able to help you. You tried it before, it didn't work. You tried your way, now try mine. Okay, so that these kind of things you need to understand. That's 80% confidence, 20% technique. As simple as that. Hypnosis is just like learning a language. Many times we learn languages in school, and let's say we learn Spanish, we go to Spain and we speak English. I learned Swedish. I tried to speak it and I failed miserably because I didn't have the confidence, and everyone kept on speaking English to me. Many people, they studied 15 years or 20 years of French here in Lebanon, but they can't speak French very well for a simple reason. It's like language. It's art. It's a language. Hypnotherapy is a language. If you don't have enough confidence, you won't be able to speak it. So train yourself to be a walking, talking, living hypnotherapist in everything you do. Even the things that you tell people, the storytelling concept, the way you talk to people, the way you propose suggestions, the way you want to explain something, everything. You can put it inside that realm of hypnotherapy. Do that, and believe me, you'll be a successful hypnotherapist at all times. But also, it's a lethal weapon. Don't use it with your spouse, ever. Okay? Especially if you're a man, they'll onto you. Believe me, they will be onto you. So unless you want to learn dirty, rotten tricks, that you will do that in waking hypnosis or using their rapid eye movement or REM state, you can go inside and you just tap them slightly on the hand. And then when you see them just flickering in that state, tell them, okay, you will hear me, but you will not wake up. And then you can throw in one suggestion only. Repeat it for a month. Believe me, if you want that diamond ring, they'll bring you one. So, so now I will be killed by all the husbands out there. So this is it's something very powerful. It's known as the Golding sleep talk. You can use it with kids as well, just giving them very high morals. So this is what I'm telling you. The induction of hypnosis doesn't have to be very complicated. You can do it as simply by shifting from sleep mode to rapid eye movement mode to suggestibility mode. So this is why when you're giving any script or giving any suggestions for people to sleep, they won't sleep in hypnosis. And if they ever snored in your chair at the office, the only suggestion you will say is like, if you don't, wake up now, it will be the most expensive sleep you've ever had in your life, because, even at the Intercontinental, they won't charge you $150 per hour of sleep. So basically, it's they're sleeping. That's it. So what do you do in the case they slept? The only thing you can do is say, like, you give them a suggestion and you see if they follow. Okay, in a moment, Joanne, I'll be counting from 1 to 3. At the count of 3, just nod your head. If she's sleeping, she'll go like, that's it. That won't work. So basically, and then it's like, I just asked you to nod your head. You didn't do that. I'm gonna ask you again. 1, 2, 3, nod your head, nothing, or open your eyes, or whatever suggestion you're gonna give, nothing is happening. You can tap them on the shoulder and say, like, okay, ma'am, you can wake up now, otherwise it's gonna be a very hard thing to be done. Okay, so but you can sleep if you want, but it's gonna cost you a lot. That's one thing. Another thing, if they ever slipped into what we call a coma state or a state state, and you just to wake them up or just immerse them, and they don't comply, and they are literally in hypnosis and they're not sleeping. And how do you know that? There are a series of tests. You can test them for analgesia or anesthesia. You can test them for what we call it the Harley-Davidson position. You just lift their hand and legs and they stay floating up there. So basically, in these kind of situations, if you just say, I will count from 1 to 10, at the count of 10, you will emerge very, like feeling good, feeling great about yourself. You go 10, okay, open your eyes, feel good. And they're like staying just like that. Okay. So if you can repeat that, the first thing not to do, not to slap them on the face. Don't throw any buckets of water on them. Yeah, if it happened online, I will tell you this. Even whatever happens, even online, if it happened like that, the only thing you can do, this is what we call the coma threat. Now, it's very, very rare that coma state, what we call it, hypnotic coma or a state, can happen online. But just in case it happens, he said, like, I know you're hearing me. Whatever I want you to do now, I want you to understand if you're having and enjoying that state. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to open your eyes. If you fail to do that, I will make all that I know. I will do whatever I need to do to not make you able to enter that state ever again. If you wish to get into that amazing state of relaxation and be there at that moment, the only thing you need to do at the count of 10, you open your eyes and you feel good, and then you immerse them. Basically, threatening them by anything else, they know that you're bluffing. But when it comes to whatever you're doing, you do that, and believe me, they will be out. Literally, they will be out. So when they're threatened not to be able to enter that state, they will not sacrifice it for the world because they're living it. It's just amazing. Okay. So, and then be patient. Literally, be patient. Whatever you need to do, just focus on the voice, and then repeat and repeat and repeat, and do not despair. Whatever you do, don't panic. The subconscious mind is so subject to panic, even though if it's online, from the tonality of your voice, from the way you say things, from that vibration of your vocal cord, the subconscious mind on the other side will sense that you're not at ease. And believe me, if you broke that confidence, you will be facing a big issue. Okay. So that being said, you know how to put someone in hypnosis. You know how to deal with it. You know the laws of the mind. You know to induce your pre-talk and everything. You enter. Just you need some techniques. Some techniques we talked about that everybody is asking about. We might be stretching. We might be stretching over 15 minutes anyway. So it's parts therapy. Everybody is asking me about parts therapy, parts or IFS or where it came from. I did something, I called it the fourth dimension of regression, which is regressing the part rather than regressing the person itself. I will go through regression to cause and then go through parts therapy. I'm not gonna turn this into a parts therapy training or a regression to cause training, but just to understand the whole concept of the thing. When we regress someone, they go and relive that event. Remember, it's an event plus an emotion, right? That's long-term memory. Event and emotion. We need to go back there and neutralize the emotion so the event becomes some sort of an experience rather than a traumatic state. Some people, they think that by regressing someone into their own trauma, we're re-traumatizing them. In fact, they're re-traumatized every single day. They're living that trauma every day. So basically what happens, that's a misconception about regression. But what we do with working the regression, we do not regress at the exact moment of that problem. We regress before, like 4-5 minutes before, and we inform the client or the child or whatever who's there at that moment in time what will happen, so it won't come as a surprise. And you can tell them, in a moment something will happen, tell me when this happens and tell me what's happening. Okay, make sure that at that moment in time when they are in hypnosis, in deep hypnosis, it's a deep state. Okay, you need to put them in deep state to have that kind, what we call revivification. That's reliving the event rather than just telling you, I was at my grandparents' place and at that time, my uncle came, and this is past tense. No, It's a no-no. Once they start speaking in present tense, or you induce it, Gilboyne used to push people to say it in the present tense. So if they went into the past tense, you just get them back to the present tense, speaking in present tense. Basically, when you make people speak in the present tense, you make them relive that event again. If they are in revivification state and deep state, basically you don't need to do that. They will go reliving it again. So you just put them before, you treat that situation, and you just jump them 5 minutes after to make them see that everything went fine. Okay, you are in the hospital, everything is fine, you're not dead. Because in that situation, they felt like they're dying and they don't want to relive that. This is why when it repeats itself, they go into anxiety or panic attacks most of the time. They just explode or something happens. Okay? So basically, when you regress to understand what the hell happened. You treat it with techniques, and then you go out from the other side feeling better. So repeat it, rinse. What was that like? Wash, rinse, repeat, just like the shampoo, until it's like as if you're reading a recipe at the that is written on the back of your cereal box. It's nothing. So once this is done, everything will fall into place. One thing very important, we have I have to show this again. Okay, so basically, if we put it on the consciousness scale, okay, we have the conscious mind, we have the subconscious mind. 0 and -1, -10, whatever. This is past life we're talking about here, and we're talking about day of birth, and then we go the present age at that moment. So we're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, 8, 16, 25, up to 70, whatever. At that moment in time, if ever you want to regress someone, we have several types of regressions. You have what we call a directed regression, which is okay. Let's go back to your 5-year-old birthday or 4-year-old birthday. So I'll count from 5 back to 1. At the count of 1, you will be on your 5th birthday. Here we go. 5 going back in time, 4 further and further back in time, 3, your hands and feet are getting smaller, 2, to that point in time, your 5th birthday, 1, be there. It's your 5th birthday. Where are you? Inside or outside? Okay. So basically it's directed. And you can have an indirect of none, as we say, like non-directed regression, which is I'm going to count from 5 to 1. At the count of 1, you will be at a moment in time where you were happy. Okay, so at the count of 1, they will be happy. Where are you? How old are you? It's non-directed, basically. It's there. And then you have something we call the affect bridge. An affect bridge, everybody knows the difference. Anyway, anyone knows the difference between an emotion, a feeling, a mood, and an affect? Why do we need an affect bridge? An affect bridge is when you have a sensation of that feeling. Okay, so basically when we push forward, it's the conscious manifestation of that feeling in your body. So basically, when you're afraid, you feel that palpitation. Okay, you have that tachycardia. This kind, that's the effect. That's the link between whatever you're feeling and how your body is reacting to it. So when you know that, when we say like you have a feeling inside of you, a feeling you don't like, a feeling you try to avoid, something you wanted to face, you try to avoid, you try to jump over it, crawl underneath it, to no avail. This time we're gonna just catch it. Okay, I'll be counting from 1 to 5. With each number, I want you to make that feeling even bigger. Okay, so you amplify that feeling basically to the point where it's an effect, so the person will get that, and then you regress from that effect. When you regress from that effect, it goes like that. That person, she's like 70 years old. And you do this technique, and she will jump to an earlier time where she felt the same. And this is like, let's say, at 25 years of age. Okay? So at 25 years of age, she had something similar. This is what we call, let's say, the first time she experienced that unconscious awareness level. And this is what is known as, if we put it this way, it's a symptom producing event. It's that moment in time where it was triggered the first time unconscious awareness. But basically, if we go back to the first time she ever felt it, and she goes back further and further to the back, you will find her going at earlier moments in time where 16, 8, and 4, they happen to be other situations where they're not felt physically, but basically they're stories. And that's what we call them SSEs, a subsequent sensitizing events. 1, 2, 3. And if you ask that person, have you ever felt that thing before? Okay, they will tell you, yeah, it's a very familiar feeling. I felt it before. So let's regress back. 3, 2, 1. Go back further. They go here. 3, 2, 1. Go further. Go here. And then at the moment in time, okay, I'm going to count from 3 to 1, and then at the count of 1, you will be there for the first time you ever felt it. There will be, let's say, at the age of 1. I don't know. It happens. Sometimes they are in the womb, by the way. So at that moment in time when they are at 1, that thing, it's like it's a pebble. It's so small. The issue that what we call an ISE, some people, they will debate. They'll say, like, you don't need to go to the ISE. Yeah, why not? We're just discussing regression. So at that moment in time when that person reaches that initial sensitizing event, it's the smallest affecting event. You will be amazed that the reason why things happened is smaller than whatever is happening. So basically, that trigger here is so big, and it was felt, and it kept on growing bigger. So basically, that whirlpool of thoughts that was triggered by, let's say, a cartoon character of a dog that barked at the age of 1 and startled that baby. And since then, each time a dog barks, that fear grows bigger and bigger and bigger until it exploded. And it kept on going bigger. So basically, it goes like that. It's like a funnel. So the first initial sensitizing event is the least important, but it was behind everything else. You go back, you neutralize this thing here, you have a domino effect of everything. Now you tell me, would it work in 1 session? Yeah, why not? Would it work in 10 sessions? Yeah, why not? It's about perseverance, attention, acceptance, forgiveness, all this kind of things. Now going back to forgiveness and how things happen, because at a certain moment in time, if she wants to forgive her mom who played that TV so loud, forgiveness has a very important pattern. You need to tell your client, when you say, I forgive you, it means I don't accept what you did to that perpetrator. It doesn't mean I condone what you did. It only means that I free myself from you. Okay?
Daniel?
So basically, yes.
Can I ask you a question? What if,
Yeah.
if when we regress the person has a really bad reaction right there and we are online? And besides the scenes fades, I mean, I'm talking right before you take it out, right? Like if the person gets a really bad one and maybe even throw away the computer, you know, before you
Okay.
fade the scene. And what is really the worst
Okay,
that
yeah.
can happen to a person? I mean, someone can have a heart attack by seeing something really bad.
Okay, during the it's a very, very important. Actually, I was coming into abreactions. Abreactions is an abnormal reaction. Okay, as we say, and some people they do abreact outside the session and inside the session. So these kind of abreactions, they can vary from biting their nails, pulling their hair, or throwing a fully fledged tantrum. Okay, and if they go through the trauma itself, sometimes they react. I had someone jumping on my throat in the office because he thought I was his father. You know, basically, he wasn't, wanted to take it on his father. He just jumped on me. It wasn't a funny scene. But the thing is, what Anna is saying, usually we say the scene fades and tend to your breathing. Okay, everybody knows the magic words. The scene fades and tend to your breathing. That can work when you have someone that is abreacting in a helpless kind of freeze mode or flight mode. In the terms of fight, sometimes the fright itself, it can just like they can push away their laptops. For a simple reason, when something like that happens, you need to get them back. Okay, so basically, if they get disconnected, they will immerse themselves for sure. They will not stay in that state because the conscious mind is always there. You're not out of consciousness. You know what I mean, Anna? So the person, when you bypass the critical faculty, it doesn't mean that you lost your conscious mind. The only thing it means, the conscious mind is there in the back seat, just watching the movie. So it will intervene fast. It's like as if you're waking up from a dream. It's a godsend for me. So if let's put it this way, if this thing is happening to you the first time, you're having a client, you regress them, and they did that abreaction. One thing for sure, you hit an ISE. That's for sure. You don't need to dig deeper. When they come back, you regress them 5 minutes before this happens. As simple as that. You keep your composure, you stay calm and collected. One thing for sure you need to ask during your intake, to ask if they are diabetic, or they have a heart condition, they have a pacemaker, or they have some sort of a epilepsy. You know what I mean? So if they are epileptic or they have heart conditions, you just have to go with a different method. You don't want to risk it. At least if they want to abreact on their own at home, you won't be the one, because they do it every single day. If they are, let's say, war veterans, soldiers, and they're having their these kind of abreactions during their sleep, they're going through their traumas, they might do it inside your office. As simple as that. But if they did it, I will repeat what Jerry used to say. You put that hand this way, and you put the other hand like that. You put those hands together. You look up there and say, thank you, God, for showing me this. Because at that moment in time, you have pinpointed exactly what the root cause is.
Yeah, I guess sometimes I think about it twice before we're going to a very emotional event, especially if working online, because sometimes I think, what if this person is not going to react well?
Go
Or they
5
seem
minutes
very
before it.
afraid.
Yeah,
Okay.
but go 5 minutes before that. Go 5 minutes before. If you know what that situation happened, instead of going to that situation, don't go to that situation. You're not going to beat them into it. So this is very important for all the people who do regression work. If you know that situation where it is, you don't go. Let's say you have a person that is suffered from rape. Okay, and that person doesn't want to go relive that situation. You don't go beat them over it, just put them in the rape cell. You take them 5 minutes. You do an informed work. Okay. And then you take them 5 minutes after and you show them that they survived.
And what if you don't
And
know
then you
what is
bring
the
them.
root cause? You don't know really where this person is gonna go.
Sorry, you don't know what happened to them, you mean?
Yeah. What if you don't know what's the situation? You
If
just
you
kind of
don't
smell that
know,
something really bad.
yeah, but if you don't know anything and you're doing regression,
Yeah.
you're doing an affect bridge over a feeling. This is why
Yeah.
that thing has been buried so deep in the subconscious mind, and it is giving them hell for the last 10, 20 years.
Yep.
Okay, but they don't know what's happening to them. This is why why I said what we call it uncovering techniques. Regression to cause is a hypnoanalysis uncovering technique. Okay, so when you're using this, you're just going after whatever happened because they don't know. Then they don't have any conscious recollection of it. They sometimes they come to you and say like, I think I was raped by my uncle. I don't know. I don't have any proof.
Mm-hmm.
And if that thing ever happened and they saw it happening, what you do is just regress them before it, get them out of it, and just put them 5 minutes after that. Once they understand that, you can take them back to an informed child situation where they can talk to themselves about it. And then they can take the hand of that person. And remember, we're not putting any false memories. You have to emphasize and say, like, whatever happened in the past, it happened already. Whatever I want you to do now, I want you to change the perception toward that event. Do whatever needed to be done at that moment in time, knowing that you're not going to change any of it. The only thing that's going to change is the perception about it and your feeling toward it. And believe me, when she goes out of it and you do the what we call it the forgiveness, the way I told you to, is just like now I just said it. You forgive. It doesn't mean I forgive and forget. It doesn't mean I just accept what you did. It doesn't mean I condone what you did. The only thing I do, I forgive you for me, not for you. If I had another word for it, I would say it. I don't know. Call it hummus. And I forgive you, and I choose to set myself free from you. It's by choice. And by setting yourself free, it's just freeing your mind and just letting them go. Letting them go, basically they are gone. Sometimes people hold on to a vendetta with a bad person. It will never end. I will never forgive him, but he's dead. We never forgive him. You will just, you're as if you're holding a stone on your hands for the last 10 years. Basically that 5 kilograms stone, it feels like 20 tons now. Okay, so it's a process by itself. And again, I cannot emphasize it more. Hypnosis is 80 or 80-20 or 90-10, 90% confidence, 10% techniques. So be confident. Know that nothing is going to harm them. Nothing. They have been going through this for the last 20 years. If they came to you, they don't know why. They feel like a volcano is burning inside of them. And then they discovered they've been tortured while they were like 2 years of age. And they blocked it deep down inside. And once they release it, they feel peace. That's it. Done. This is why we call it a reactive regression. Any questions? Sometimes because they are connected, they will feel it by empathy. They will feel the pain, and they will be literally in pain as therapists. So sometimes some therapists, they cannot handle it. They will go into a panic mode. Literally in a panic mode.
I understand
they will
what you're
slap.
saying.
So it's very important to understand the whole concept of it. Once you understand it, that's it. Feels good. So again, if ever happened and they have that kind of thing, you know very well at that time of abreaction, you just note it, highlight it, put it as a graffiti on the wall. That's the ISE. You have just stepped on the snake's head. And then if you clear it, and then you retest, you test all the other events, all the SSEs, all the subsequent sensitizing events. and you will find that they're gone. Now, some people will use something we call it timeline therapy. Timeline is more or less just, some people, they say like it's like regression work. It's another variation, but no, it's not. With regression, you have revivification. People, they're reliving that event with all its emotions in the now. With timeline, it's a dissociative kind of regression. So basically, they're seeing themselves going through this. So basically, I can see me down there being hammered, while in the regression state, you feel that you are hammered. It's a big difference. In timeline, you can work on this. It works fine, but not on all things. The deeply hidden cause, this is why Freud says, amnesia lies at the root of all neurotic symptoms. Okay, so we need yet to know methods to uncover those hidden reasons, hidden causes. So in this case, timeline will not dig deep into the subconscious mind, especially when things are like that. If they are unknown, there's no possible way with a timeline you can just uncover it. It's a challenge, hands down. If they don't know what is happening, they cannot go into NISE. It's impossible. But if they know, timeline therapy is amazing. You can do that. Okay, so it's all about choices. It's all about tools and how to use them. I wanted to cover and break a record by covering the parts therapy, but I'm going to cover this because we just wasted about 15 minutes before we start and kick off, so it's on me. If you are able to do that, just tell me. If you say like we want to go to sleep and just attend to other things, please tell me. Parts therapy is something quite interesting because it has to be covered on its own with a training course. Internal family systems, parts therapy, ego state, transactional analysis, all those kind of things. It's amazing how they work. One thing for sure, we are made out of parts, and there are no bad parts. Even the worst part ever is a good part, because as I said in the explanation of the mind model, the subconscious mind is a self-preserving system. It does it out of self-preservation, out of support, self-protective. So basically all the bad things that happen, they happen for a reason. And those parts, if we want to just go into the parts, that fearful part is a protective part. That angry part is a part that has suffered from unfairness. That frustrated part, it has been blocked by so many things to execute whatever it wanted to do. That sad part means it has suffered loss, so on and so forth. So basically, by understanding all those emotions and what they need, or you can go ahead, just there's a part of you that is behind everything that you're suffering now. Can you please, tell that part to speak up whenever that part is ready to tell us? It's like a seance of calling, spirit speaking, those kind of, if you are here in the room, talk to us, please, like a Ouija board or something. It's something like that. So that part, when it comes up and talks to you, you just talk to it as if it's on its own. But you need to emphasize to your client that it's not about schizophrenia. It's not about a dissociative personality disorder. It's an emotion. We're gonna give that emotion a shape, a face, a voice. So basically, that emotion that was trapped at a certain moment in time has been given a voice to speak and tell you what's happening to it. Now, the most important part, at a certain moment in time, I used to do the things in a wrong way, and then I rectified them. Sometimes we need to push, or give the client enough stamina to kick off that part. But basically it backfired. Sometimes when you kick away that part becomes more angry, and because that it will leave a hole inside the hole. Okay, so it stems from the Gestalt. So if you don't accept that part, basically it will give you headaches. So it's a harmony thing. It's like Dick Schwartz would say, it's an internal family system. All those systems that they work together, and this internal family needs to come back home. That's you. So what is healing? The thing, the word heal, the verb healing, or the noun, if you can say, to heal, is to become whole again. Okay, so basically by healing, it's just bringing all those parts back to you, all those outcasts, all those what do you call them, the hated parts, all those well, what do you call them, Vana? The like rejected parts. So you have to understand them more, to have to give them a voice to speak and tell you why did they come, what is their purpose, what do you want them to do, how do they support you.
Protectors?
Not the protectors, the
Exiles?
exiles, yeah. So once you exile, those exiled. So basically, and then you have, if we're talking from a internal family systems point of view, you have a manager that decided to deploy a certain firefighter to deal with an exile, and then you are in a big mess. If you don't know how to do this, you can shrink that system, because the internal family systems is very complicated versus the parts mediation therapy. Parts therapy, you can just simplify it if you want, and you take that part and talk with it, negotiate with it, come with peace with it, know why it came, why did it come, what is its purpose, did it work? You've been doing this for the last 25 years to Vana, let's say. Did it work with you? Most of the time they'll tell you no. So why are you keep on repeating that? That's the only thing I note. If I gave you another job description, what if I gave you another job and I unburden you? I just take away that responsibility from you and give it to Vana. Will it work for you? Most of the time they say yes. It's like, as of this moment, you're going to be this, and that. And there's one important moment when they accept that job. You need to consult with the rest of the parts. Maybe there's another part that didn't like that. So you need to get the acceptance of the rest of the part. So basically, it's all about acceptance. So the more you push away those emotions or those parts, the more you are in struggle. This is why Roy Hunter called it internal conflict, like an inner conflict. So you have an inner conflict, you have an inner fight. Whatever you do while doing that, don't take part in that fight. Always be in the middle. Be a mediator. Never be a judge. Okay? So the moment you be a judge, you will be part of it, and you will be part of the problem. You don't want to be part of the problem. You want to be there just to watch and facilitate until they come in peace together. So basically, when you're using this, you can use it in those situations where we talked about secondary gains. We talked about those doubtful parts. We talked about those parts that they belittle you, those parts that they entice you and destroy. They work in self-destruction. Those parts that they intimidate you, and then those parts that they will be pushing your buttons, telling you that you're not good enough. Those are exiles that they are just really that they can really fuck up things. Angry parts, protective parts, those parts are amazing. You will understand them immediately, but the other ones, you need to listen to them. You need to listen a lot, and you need to hear their pain, their anger, where they came from. Now, you can use those parts in order to pinpoint a certain situation. When they came into, let's say, when did they come into Rada's life at that moment in time? You can regress to that moment in time. So you can use parts therapy in order to do regression. Moreover, you can use internal family systems by asking the most important question there, just like, how old do you think I am? Okay, so by telling your client to ask that part, how old do you think I am? Sometimes they say like, I heard it saying 13. Seriously? So basically that part has been trapped from 13 years of age up until 45. So, okay, let's go there. Let's take that part and regress that part. Let's go there to the first day you were born, the first day you came into Vanna's life, let's say. And then you regress that part. So you deal with that part solicited without any other parts. Because that part, once you put it aside in the room, you look at the other parts, they're just like, holy crap, that part really annoyed everyone here. So once you take that away, that part, everyone is okay with it. But if you regress that part to the moment it was born, the moment it came into your client's life, you will understand the whole concept about it. So like, why did you come? I'm coming here to help her. Help her do what? To voice herself. She's always belittled. All her siblings, they just push her over. Her parents don't listen to her. Whatever she wants something, she's not being able to get it. It's unfair. And then that kind of thing, instead of going into being an encouraging part, it went like, see, now I'm convinced she will not be able to do it. I will always remind her that she will not be able to do anything. And then she grows up. And when she grows up, that part is still with her, telling her every time she wants to do something, you're a failure, you will never do it. You will never be able to do it. You will always fail. You've been failing for the last 25 years. What will make you do something different now? But basically, she's been failing because that voice was nagging the whole time. Until you listen to that voice. It's like, because it was in despair. Tried its best to make her do things. It didn't work. So it started doing a reverse psychology by pushing her more, by bullying her. And she finds herself in the middle of nowhere, not being able to focus or go forward, until you make that part say like, I'm so sorry, I want to make things better. How do I do this? You're a bully, right? Now we're gonna change your job description. We're gonna put you some sort of protector there. Can you do that job? Can you fix things? But you're gonna work under the orders of Vanna, let's say. She will tell you what to do. This way, you will give the person, the self, the responsibility of taking the actions, rather than all those parts taken into their own hands, and each and every emotion just opening a new section, a new chapter on its own. And we're just like as if you are in a civil war inside. You have the parts of the self, the parts of the other parts. Okay, so parts therapy, it is meant to bring clarity, actually, and understanding why there's the inner conflict, to solve the inner conflict, and to bring all those parts inside and give the person what I call the control alternative, moi, to whatever you do in all your work. So whenever you do something, take it into consideration. It's not about you, it's about your client. And this is why we call it client-centered, because the client will come up with the solution, not you. Believe me, if you try day on, day off to give them and dictate your own solution, their subconscious mind will push it away. So that being said, thank you for listening. If you have any questions, I'm here. Hopefully you enjoyed it. So if you need anything, please just drop me a line, ask me a question whenever you want to. I'll be all listening. Thank you.